semester. I hope you all had a safe and good break. Welcome back. So we're going to get started. Next slide, please. So we're going to call the meeting to order at 6:34. First thing we have to do is, well, actually, I guess I should read this. Just please remember that the meeting guest and most special interest club representatives are non-voting board members. So when we make like a motion to vote on something, if you fall into those categories, you're not a voting member. So first thing we have to do is approve the minutes from the December 2nd board meeting. So can I get a motion in the chat? Y'all are on top of it. So you should see something pop up to vote on it. We're just gonna give it a couple more seconds. So are we okay with ending the poll now? 64 out of 74 said yes. So the minutes from the December 2nd board meeting are approved. All right, so we have a ton of announcements today. So I think first we're gonna have Anthony and Mike come and talk about the 2018, 2019, 2019, 2020 GSA audit reviews. So are you all there? 37 is quorum for tonight. Okay, cool.
Yes, this is Anthony. I'm here.
Hi, Anthony.
Hi, how are you?
Mike Grella, I'm here as well.
Okay, great. Connor, can you move it to the next slide? Or Josh is there too. Oh, sorry. Do you all need? Okay, never mind then.
Yeah.
I'm gonna pass it on to y'all.
Okay. Thank you. My name is Anthony Pizzino. I'm the director at EFPR Group. I worked on when Subboard used to be the fiscal agent for many years. Now FSA is the fiscal agent. I worked on the audits for 2020 and 2019. I have a PowerPoint presentation that I'm going to bring up on the screen now. We're going to talk about the audit results, some of the information that goes along with the 2 years of audit, timing, go over the engagement team, things of that nature. I'm going to share the screen now. And one thing to mention is that the audits have been finalized. We are in the process of finalizing the tax returns now. So we're going to go through it now. Can somebody just let me know if it looks good? You can see the presentation. Great, thank you. So as I mentioned, today's the 3rd, and we're going to be going over the audit results for the University of Buffalo Graduate Student Association for the year ends July 31st, 2020 and 2019. In today's meeting, I'm going to go over the engagement team involved in completing the 2 audits, as well as timing of the procedures. Then we're going to go over some financial results and talk about the report to the board and the management letter as well. Here is the engagement team. In the top left-hand corner, that's Douglas Zimmerman. He's the engagement partner, overall responsible for the engagement. He oversees my work and Greg's work. He ultimately reviews everything before any deliverables before they go out the door. Rob Williams is a technical review partner. He acts as a quality control partner independent from the engagement. He will review the financial statements and any deliverables as well. So you always have 2 partners looking at the financial statements and any deliverables for all engagements at the firm. Bottom left-hand corner, that's myself. I'm a director at the firm, and I was working on the day-to-day activity. To the right of me, it's Greg. He's a supervisor, and he worked on alongside with me on getting everything wrapped up for these 2 audits for 2020 and 2019. As far as the timing of the procedures, we started our field work in October, around October 1st of 2020, which was unique to this year. We had two audits to complete due to some certain circumstances. The first being the transfer of the fiscal agent from subboard to FSA delayed us on getting started. We normally get started in October, but we were a year behind due to that change. So we had to iron some things out before we got started. And then the COVID pandemic came into play, which delayed it a little bit longer. So by the time we got all our ducks in a row and got everything straightened out between FSA and subboard, it was about first week of October that we began our field work. Also to mention, we completed the audit remotely this year. Normally we're on site, talking face to face, looking at documents in person. Obviously, due to the circumstances now, we decided to do it remotely. That was the safest way to complete the audit, and ultimately everything was done the same way. It was a little more work for everybody, emailing and uploading things to our share file and things like that, and a lot more Zoom calls and things like that. So but that's how we've been completing audits basically since the pandemic began. The final financial statements were issued on December 8th. That's when we were able to wrap up everything. We had officers' approval on the financial statements. And today, February 3rd, we're going to complete the full board meeting. Also to mention, on the 8th, we did sit down, or a little bit before December 8th, we did sit down with the officers, Joshua and Connor and Jessica, and we went over the financial statements, answered any questions anybody may have in regards to our results. So again, we're going to go over these results again for the full board today, and finalize the audit process for 2020 and 2019. This slide is going to get into some of the financial results of our two engagements. First bullet, we have issued an unmodified audit opinion on the statements for 2020 and 2019. Unmodified audit opinion, it's a clean opinion. There was no material issues in regards to the audits. It's the best opinion that can be rendered. So again, it's a clean opinion. We like to call it an unmodified opinion. So for both years, there is a unmodified opinion. Some other items worth noting: cash increased approximately 400,000 from approximately 736,000 in 2019 at July 31st to approximately 1.1 million in 2020. We'll kind of talk about as we go on. We'll kind of talk about the reasons for that. Moving down, student activity fees net of the allowance decreased approximately 7,000. From 16,100 in 2019 to approximately 8,700 in 2020. This was mainly due to an increase in the allowance for balances that were not collected on. So this year we created an allowance, so that was the reason for that decrease. Accounts payable amounted to $4,761 and $47,589 respectively for 2020 and 2019. The decrease was mainly due to drop in expenses at year end due to COVID-19. So again, you can see a big drop in that payable amount. And again, because of the pandemic, a lot of normal transactions, normal activities were put to a halt, stopped. Obviously, we're not allowed to do things. Still not allowed to do certain things due to the certain circumstances. So you're going to see a decrease there. The association did receive a Paycheck Protection loan. You also hear it as a PPP loan from the SBA. That loan amounted to $55,600. That was applied for in April and approved and received. After year end, after the July 31st year end, that loan was fully forgiven. So when you look at the statement of activities on the financial statements, you're going to see that 55,600 stick out, and it says promissory note for Paycheck Protection loan. So since that loan is forgiven after year end, what we will be doing for next year's audit is since it's forgiven, we will be recognizing that as grant revenue. So we're going to take that off the statement or off the statement of financial position, put it on the statement of activities or the income statement, and recognize that income in 2020. So again, that loan was forgiven shortly after the July 31st year end. So everything is all set with that. So again, we'll do next year's audit. We'll make sure that that is stated properly on the statement of activities. Anybody have any questions on that? I know that's a hot topic nowadays. I know a lot of people are talking about that and how it's going to be treated and forgiveness and that. So if anybody has any questions about that, feel free to speak up at any time. Okay, moving on, some more financial results. This has to do with the statement of activities. 3 bullets on this slide. You're going to see a common theme with COVID, basically in all of them. COVID has really affected activity during the fiscal year. The first bullet talks about the student activity fees. They decreased approximately $54,000 from approximately 1.1 million in 2019, 1.179 to approximately 1.124 in 2020. This decrease was due to the COVID fee credit that was issued to students. That was $7.92 per student in the spring semester, and that amounted basically to the amount it decreases that it decreased. You could see in the first line there. So enrollment was fairly consistent. Again, that COVID credit was the reason for the decrease. Social and education activity revenue decreased approximately 40,000 from approximately 91,000 in 19 to approximately 51,000 in 2020. The related program service expense decreased to approximately 246,000 from 700,000 in 19 to approximately 436,000 in 2020. These decreases were also due to the COVID-19 pandemic, which required a lot of the events being planned in the spring to either be postponed or canceled completely. So a lot of changes you're going to see between 2019 and 2020. Hopefully in 2021, we'll see some of these activities coming back since we're learning how to deal with this virus a little bit more with social distancing and the vaccine and things like that. So as I mentioned, COVID-19 really is playing a major part, not only in GSA's financial statements, but along with the student organizations and basically everybody existing right now. So it's a global pandemic, and so again, it's obviously these numbers isn't isolated to GSA. It's obviously a general thing. So last bullet on this page, the management and general expense increased approximately 50,000 from 313,000 in 2019 to approximately 364,000 in 2020. The increase was mainly due to a larger percent of payroll being allocated to management in general as a result of the COVID offset, partially by a decrease and then there was also a decrease in fiscal and accounting services from 2019 to 2020. Since the fiscal agent was moved from subboard to FSA, that amount went down, a little bit there. So that is a good thing. We're going to continue to, or that's going to stabilize, and their accounting service will be consistent moving forward between 2020, 2021, and so forth. Next page is another financial results. These are some key indicators that are crucial to GSA. The association had a current ratio of 11-1 for July 31st, 2020, and 9-1 to July 31st, 2019. Basically, this ratio shows the ability of the association to meet its current obligations. To calculate these percentages, or this ratio, we'll take your current assets and divide it by your current liabilities, and that's how we get the 11-1 and the 9-1. So that is a very healthy current ratio. We'd like to see anything over 1-1 on a nonprofit organization. So 11-1 shows a strong financial position of the association. Program service expenses were 55% and 69% of total expenses as of July 31st, 2020 and 2019. This ratio basically shows that for each dollar that comes into the association, $55 was actually spent in 2020 and 69 and 19 on program services, giving, putting the money back into the association with various clubs. And then the remaining would be allocated towards admin, general, payroll, things like that. So I'd like to see that go up a little bit moving forward. The 69% in 2019 is a better, I'd like to see that number, but 55, obviously due to COVID, and you're not allowed to do, a lot of these things. So it isn't abnormal to see that go down a little bit, but I think you're going to see that increase as we move forward and things start, hopefully getting back to normal a little bit. So again, I anticipate that 55% to go up a little bit moving forward. You're changing that assets, or you could look at it as a surplus. That's basically going to be your revenue over expenses. For 2020, it was approximately 378,000. 2019, it was 270,000. So that is a healthy surplus, and that will increase your total net assets. As you can see in the bottom bullet, you have total net assets for 2020 of approximately $1 million, and in 2019 it was 680. So that change in those two numbers is your change in net assets for the year. So any questions? Yeah. Okay, great. Yeah.
One thing I'd like to add, the net assets are split between the general fund and the MDRF grant. And I believe that there's, at the end of last year, there was approximately about $300,000 in net assets for the MDRF grant as well. So.
Great. Thanks, Mike.
Mhm.
Okay. Moving on, and as you go through the financial statements, after you get through the numbers, you're going to see pages just with a lot of words on it, some charts, things like that. Those are the notes to the financial statements. So these notes should be read in conjunction with the financial statements, and they'll expand on a lot of the balances that we just mentioned in the previous slides. I'll briefly go over each of the notes. Note 1 describes the association and accounting policies it follows. Some new notes this year were Note 1J, subsequent events. Again, you can see COVID-19 there. Basically, what we're putting in all financial statements is a subsequent event paragraph. It's a couple sentences basically saying, this COVID-19, it's new. We're not sure of the actual financial impact that it's going to have on the association. So again, this is a standard footnote that we're putting in all our financial statements since the end of March, since the pandemic started. So that is, it's not unique to GSA. We've been putting in every financial statement, just talking about the financial impact that COVID-19 is. It's uncertain. We're not sure exactly how it's going to affect certain entities or certain organizations. So again, that's more of a boilerplate footnote. So we're, like I mentioned before, even putting that note in all the financial statements. Note 1M is a recent accounting standard that was issued. It's ASU 2018-8. This talks about how grants are treated and recorded with deferred revenue. This doesn't really apply much to GSA, but it is a required footnote that we have to have for all nonprofit organizations. So again, that's a required statement. It doesn't apply to GSA so much, but we have to have it in the financial statements. Note 2 discusses the association's liquidity. That's another required note. All these notes are required notes that we have to have in by professional standards. So basically, everything we're going through, you might, wonder why that's in there. They are all required. Note 3 discusses the association PPP loan. Talked about that a little bit before. This note will break down the details, the amount, the date that it was taken in. It also mentions that it was subsequently or tentatively at the time forgiven. Talks about if you don't follow through with what already was, what the the payback terms, things like that. So again, it lays out everything that anybody needs to know about the PPP loan. And again, that was forgiven, and we will be recognizing that in 2021 on the statement of activities. Note 4 provides detail on the association's related party transactions. This will talk about transactions which we would consider related parties. Those would be items such as payments to FSA for accounting services. They'll break down the amounts, what they were actually for. So again, that breaks down, gives the reader a little more information on the association's related party transactions. Note 5 discusses the pension plan the association is a participant in. Note 6 summarizes the designated net assets. Mike talked about that a little bit briefly, talking about the net assets, how it's broken between the two categories. And that is the complete financial statement. Does anybody have any questions on the financial statements? Okay. If anybody has anything, just feel free to speak up at any time. There's just a couple more things I need to go over. There is two letters that were included in the financial package. The report to the board. This is a required communication that us as an auditing firm has to have with the board of directors. There's some bullets here that will outline what I think are the most important things in the report to the board. First bullet talks about significant accounting policies and changes. As I mentioned before, there was the adopting ASU 2018-08 in 2020. Again, that does not apply so much to GSA, but it is something we have to include it in this report. Accounting estimates were reasonable and supported. Accounting estimate is basically depreciation, something like depreciation or allowance for doubtful accounts. So during our audit procedures, we'll review these estimates to determine if they're suitable and supported with a good methodology. So all estimates were reasonable and supported. The most significant disclosure in the statements is the related party transaction footnote discussed in note 4. Talked about that a little. Basically, that's just going to talk about FSA to the fiscal agent, what they do for you, amounts that were paid for certain services during the year. We had no difficulties in performing our audit or disagreements with management over any accounting, reporting, or auditing matter. That's always a good thing. We were able to, under the circumstances, doing 2 audits in a short period of time. We basically completed 2 audits, probably in about a month to 6-week period. So everybody was very helpful. Mike and Steve over at FSA were very instrumental in getting us the information we needed. Connor and Joshua and Jessica were responsive to our emails. So everybody did a really good job assisting in this process. So I was very happy. We were very happy with how everything worked out. If there was any type of not so much issue, but questions or anything that had to be discussed further, we were able to have a conversation, figure things out, very smoothly. So again, there was no difficulties, and obviously I just want to thank everybody who was a part of the audit, who helped out, and I just want to thank them for all their help and getting everything completed timely. Last bullet, we did obtain a management representation letter. That's the last piece of the puzzle to the audit. Basically, it's a letter that GSA provides to us. We'll prepare the letter for GSA. One of the officers will sign the letter. Basically, the letter basically saying that everything we asked, you provided information. You didn't hold back any information that we asked for. There was no subsequent litigation going on that we weren't aware of. There wasn't a large liability that wasn't on the financial statement. So basically it was just saying that everything we looked at was given to us honestly and with due care. So we have that's in our file. As I mentioned before, the financial statements are dated December 8th. So after this board meeting, we should be all set with the audit, and I'll talk about the tax return in a minute. So one last letter talking about, as part of the financial package, we had a management letter. The management letter was issued with the audit, and there was 2 recommendations that we had. The first had to talk about the tax status documentation. GSA is in the process of filing their 1023 with the IRS. I know the IRS is a little behind on responding. It was sent in. I know it was kicked back, had some other questions. So again, we're trying to get that all lined up. And then once that is approved, there's some New York State forms that have to be um, registered for, so it's registered in New York State. But management is aware of all these items. Everybody's working diligently to get them done. It's kind of a waiting game with the IRS trying to get the right, trying to get the right letters back. And so nothing of concern. It's just a recommendation that we do have. So my anticipation by the audit next year, everything will be set up in the right way, and everything will be all the ducks will be in a row. So so I'm not concerned at all about that. The capitalization threshold, we recommend that management examine the capitalization threshold on fixed asset additions. We noted that it was a little bit too low. We were using a $500 threshold for capitalizations. So we're asking management to take a look at this and come up with a more suitable capitalization number for capitalizing fixed assets. And also part of the audit, I did ask for a management response to these recommendations back at our meeting back at the end of November or the beginning of December. We did receive that from management, so that was good. Basically, they were laying out what their plan is to tackle these two recommendations, and after reading it over, everything sounded great. So currently, management, I'm not sure if it's done already, but they were sitting down to go over that capitalization threshold, and I know Mike was involved in that as well. And obviously, they're on top of the tax status documentation issues or that process too. So everything is working out good, and I anticipate everything to both these comments to be eliminated for next year's audit.
Yeah, I'm going to be meeting with Stephen to discuss, what to do with the capitalization threshold. And right now we've had a couple discussions about it. We'll probably raise it to either $1,000 or potentially even 1,500. It'll make it easier to account for all your fixed assets, and less things will be caught up as a capital asset for you. So it makes a lot more sense to do it that way.
Yeah, great. Other matter, the required tax filings have been completed. A draft was actually sent today. Well, a draft was sent a couple days ago, and Mike and management looked it over. There were some changes that were made, and a revised draft was sent today. So as far as I know, that everybody is happy with the new their new revised draft. I'm actually going to share my screen and pull that up. And actually, Mike is going to talk about that a little bit, and we'll kind of talk about finalizing that. So I'm going to unshare my screen and then reshare it. So share. Okay. Can you see it, Mike?
Yep. This is the 990. It's a required tax filing that you have to do annually. This is the first full one that you're doing since you've been incorporated, and now that the 1023 application is at least in for review, I'm hoping that you get a response for that relatively soon. Basically, the 990 summarizes a lot of the information that is on the financial statements already that Anthony already went over. So I don't want to rehash everything that he did. It also provides some additional information about your activities, your main programs. It discusses the MDRF grant. The second page here shows the the main expenses and revenues for the year, and talks about the program services and that were provided. The next 6 pages actually are just yes, no questions. And most of them are no. If you answer yes to it, typically you have to provide more information. And basically they're shown on the supplemental schedules that are in there, which are Schedule A, D, I, O, and R. And all of them have relevant information there that is required to be disclosed based on how you conduct your business. So this part right here shows section 7 shows the board of directors. We're only showing the officers on this as opposed to listing out 73 people. But there's a note in Schedule O that's been added that states that if anybody does want a complete list of all the board members, they can contact GSA. It's a much more efficient way of showing this as opposed to having 4 pages just listing off people. So continuing on, this kind of just continues to summarize everything with the board. We get into the statement of revenues, which just summarizes the revenues from the financial statements and breaks it out into whether or not it's related to the exempt function, if it's unrelated revenue, or if it's excluded from tax. You are a tax exempt entity, so the goal would be to have everything that is, in the first column there that shows, well, column B, the related to exempt function. If you had anything that was in column C, you potentially have to pay tax on that. So basically, you're doing what you should be doing, and you're fulfilling your charitable mission and tax exempt mission. So the expenses are broken out on the next page into program expenses and management in general. The program expenses are the ones that are general, that are able to be attributed to your program and putting those programs on. So for instance, it would be the first one is grants and other assistance. That's basically what was spent out of the MDRF grant last year. That number is a little low typically for you because COVID kind of came through and really put a damper on the MDRF grant last year. So the management in general column shows more of the overhead costs where you'd have accounting, legal services, and then other office expenses, and then some salary, wages, and payroll for the board and some of the other people that work at GSA. The next page just summarizes the income statement, or sorry, the balance sheet, which has the cash, all the assets and liabilities, and then at the bottom the fund balance. So after that, there's the schedules A, D, I, O, and R. I'm just going to have Anthony skip the schedule O because that's the only one that has any real relevant information. So Schedule O goes through and states what the charitable purpose is for GSA and expands on what your mission is to provide those services. So basically the first 2 bullets are the same. If you scroll down. Then it gets into talking about the organization's board governing body with the committees. And you can keep scrolling down to the bottom. So and then it just has related organizations on the very last schedule, which shows SPI, your old fiscal agent, and then FSA as your new fiscal agent. So that is pretty much that the 990 in a nutshell. You don't have to pay any taxes because you're tax exempt once again, but it is required filing. And as soon as it's reviewed at this meeting, we can have Jay sign it off, and then we can get it sent in. There'll also be another tax return next year for New York State that is required to be filed, but you haven't registered with New York State yet, so you don't have to file that yet. So I won't even get into that stuff. Are there any questions about the 990 or the financial statements? Okay. Well, I'd also just like to say, Anthony was very helpful in performing the audit. Stephanie and Gina provided a lot of the information to us, and the officers also were instrumental in helping us, get through the audit and answering questions for Anthony. So I appreciate everybody's help, and it made it go really smoothly, especially for having to get 2 years worth done at one time. So thank you very much.
Yeah, but I second that. Thanks again to everybody who was involved. Really appreciate it. And also, if
Thank you.
anybody has any questions after this meeting or throughout the year, You could email me or call me anytime. You could get my information from Mike or Stephanie or Gina. They all have my email contact or phone number. So don't hesitate to reach out to me at any point.
Yeah, then also me as well. Feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions or anything.
Thank you, Anthony and Mike.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so I did just want to clarify that we won't be making any capitalization changes until the next fiscal year that starts in August. It would just be too difficult for us to make changes mid-year when some of the purchases have already been made. But they will be reflected in the budgetary guidelines for next year.
Yeah, and I will send out an email to the officers detailing the update to the capitalization threshold and the policy when we kind of right-sized it. We're kind of going back and forth between 1,000 and 1,500 to see what's best. I need to review your assets and typically what you purchase, especially last year was a little bit different because of COVID once again, but I'll look at the year before that to double check to see typically what you're purchasing. Make it work.
Thank you, Mike. Okay, so we're going to move on. I'm going to pass it over to Lawrence. Lawrence is from GSEU.
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you so much. So my name is Lawrence. I am the business agent for the GSEU, which is the sort of de facto head of the union here at Buffalo. And so I'm here to sort of talk about two related things. One is this LSM fee boycott, and then the other is what the union has been doing around fees. So I was here back in November, I want to say, to talk about what I was hoping to do once I stepped into the position of BA. And one of those things was trying to negotiate around fees and to hopefully eliminate fees for full-time graduate student workers. So the past week we had, or week, 2 weeks ago, something like that, we had a blitz week where we sent hundreds of emails to the president and the president's office, to higher level administrators, and to several deans from a number of colleges. And from that, we have unfortunately not received a response, which is not entirely surprising. And it's the reason why we have a union. And so one of the things that I'm hoping to do moving forward is that personally, I will be reaching out a second time to administrators to try to have a meeting. The first time we were told that fees are not a union issue, which is fundamentally not true. If you're a graduate student worker and you pay fees, you're paying a work tax, and that would be unacceptable in any other capacity. So it is a labor issue. We do want to meet with administrators, so we're going to push that again. And in addition to that, next Tuesday at noon, and there will be an email that goes out about this tomorrow, we're having another member meeting, just like we had back in January, just to get a sense of how everyone is feeling about fees, about organizing around fees, and a number of other sort of related issues that the union is taking on. So if you are free next Tuesday at noon, I would highly encourage you to come. Even if you're not sure if you're a dues paying member, we can certainly check that, and you are still welcome to come to the meeting regardless, because we want to obviously make sure that we're doing what you all as our member base want us to do and represent you accurately. So if you're interested in that, please come. The second thing, and I will address this question because it is related to the boycott, is that the Living Stipend movement has a broad-based fee boycott. And this is something that the union is not like co-sponsoring or doing with LSM, but we do endorse it in its full capacity, or support it in its full capacity, or in solidarity with the graduate students who choose to withhold their fees. This current push, because the union does only represent full-time graduate student workers, we're only asking graduate student workers to withhold their fees, because I can't advocate for you just as a graduate student, because you're not within my unit. And I feel like it would be unfair to ask you to withhold your fees for something that I can't guarantee I could represent you in. So right now it's just for graduate student workers. So their living stipend, and I can put the link to both the petition, which is right here. And they also put together an FAQ because I'm sure, you might have questions about possibilities of consequences for supporting the boycott or withholding your fees. And what we mean when we say broad-based is that we're withholding the fees for the services that we use within our job as a TA or as a GA. Broad-based fees do not include the GSA fee, and they don't include international student fees. So by supporting a fee boycott, you're still going to be able to access the same GSA services. We're not trying to defund GSA by any means. Social services in this respect are so important. But what we are saying is that the services that we use to teach or that we use to GA are not services we should be paying for because we need them to do our jobs effectively. So if you are interested in either signing in solidarity with those who are boycotting, you can certainly do that at the Google form link. If you're also interested in withholding your fees, you can also sign there. If you have any questions about anything related to the boycott or really anything related to fee organizing, we're always looking for more people who are interested in helping us organize actions. I will put my email in. I see there's another. So at the moment, the potential consequences of withholding your fees are that you can receive a penalty charge, like a late fee charge, which is proportionate to the amount of credits that you are taking. I think it's anywhere from like $15 to $45 total that would get tacked on in addition to your fees, depending on how many credits you're taking. So at the moment, that is really the only repercussion. And when you do have a late fee penalty tacked on, they can put a hold on your account if it remains unpaid, which means you can't register for courses or request a transcript. Those are the sort of major 30/50, perfect. Yeah, so those are the major consequences. They can't revoke your TA-ship. They can't revoke your GA-ship. They can't kick you out of the university. The worst that they can do is hit you with the $30 to $50 fee, which is by no means like, not still extra money that they're asking you to pay. And because of that late fee, they can withhold or bar you from registering for courses in the next semester, which would be fall semester. And you wouldn't be able to request a transcript or a diploma if this is your last semester here. Are there any other questions about the boycott or questions about organizing with the union? Yes, yeah. What would be the plan in the fall semester? Yeah, so we are definitely still thinking through how we want to, obviously strategically lay out this whole plan. Stony Brook University last semester was successful in winning a fee boycott, and they were able to get Stony Brook to pay for their fees this semester. So they're actually not paying any fees at all. They're full-time graduate student workers. They're being covered by the university. So this is a very real possibility at a SUNY campus. UB is the largest research center and has the largest endowment out of any of the research centers. So they have the money and they can do this, they're choosing not to. And if you're in the College of Arts and Sciences, you know that they promised to do that and then sort of very quickly took back that promise a handful of days before fees were due. And so it is definitely, and this was something we thought about, that it is a lot easier sometimes for people to either withhold fees in the fall or, try to do things over the summer and whatnot. But we are thinking ahead towards what the fall will look like, though there's honestly so much uncertainty in if admins get back to us, what sort of meetings we want to hold, if possibly, or actions we want to hold in person, but socially distant. So there's a lot of different things we could do. And so I would definitely encourage you to come to the member meeting next Tuesday, where we will work through what sort of actions we want to take, because this is definitely something we won't give up. There's a bill going through the New York State Senate and Assembly right now that would also cover our fees as a budget item in the New York State budget. under SUNY. So I don't have a concrete answer for you about what we're doing in the fall, but I can say that this is not something we're going to just drop once the semester is over. And all of the campuses right now, all of the research centers are currently doing some sort of fee action. So we are not alone. Any other questions about fee-related organizing or the boycott? Okay. So if you do have any questions, feel free to send me an email. I'm going to put my email in one more time. And yeah, if you have any general questions about either fees or of course any concerns within your department, I'm happy to answer any questions around your TA-ship, work hours. That all falls underneath my job, so I'm happy to talk to you about that. But yeah, thank you so much for letting me do this little announcement.
Yeah, thank you so much, Lawrence. Okay, so next we have Elle Novak, who is the GSA FSA representative, here to talk about a bunch of stuff.
Hi, thanks for letting me do this short presentation. I just wanted to give you guys a quick update of what's been going on with the FSA for the past little while. There's been so much change since even just November that I thought you guys might be interested in, that I thought that this was important. So first order of business, the FSA has submitted the 21-22 budget to SUNY, but it's not public yet. SUNY has to approve it. The big message for us is that, as we know, the university did experience moderate losses overall, like everywhere else because of the COVID pandemic, but we're okay. And as you heard from our audit, we are, as the GSA, in pretty good shape, which is good to know. So what does that mean for us as students? Not a ton. Food and commodities prices should increase a little bit in the upcoming year, but that is not something that is exclusive to the university. This university, it's pretty much everywhere across the board. Food and commodity prices have just gone up because of the economics related to COVID for everyone. So that's pretty much it on that front. The good news for this upcoming year is that this upcoming semester is that enrollment has held steady, and we actually increased our numbers of international students. And I will talk about that a little bit more in a second. So the projection is for 21-22 that we are going to be okay. We're going to come out of this. And one of the things that is going to help us along is the One World Cafe. So I'm going to share my screen with you. This will stop others. Yes. The One World Cafe, you've probably been hearing a lot about. You can find it on this website. Just a general overview. We are scheduled to open the One World Cafe in January of 2022. So this time next year, the One World Cafe is projected to be open. So you can see some quick renderings on this website. And then there's more renderings here. They haven't changed really since they were sent out, but I wanted to share this because it actually looks pretty cool. And about at the same time that COVID is expected to be mostly dealt with and things should be getting back to a semblance of normal is when this will be opening up. So the admin is really looking forward to this for several reasons. This is a fireplace that I thought was really cool. And this is a whole article on the One World Cafe. There's going to be tiered seating. And another thing that's going to be in this One World Cafe is something called the University Club, which is not handled by the FSA, but by the actual university. This will take over the Buffalo Room, what used to be the Buffalo Room. So it's going to be the very formal dark wood, like board presentation room where they woo the donors, basically. So that's going to be attached to this One World Cafe. So when we come out of this, the university is ready for making good on a lot of its commitments, and it should be a different campus in a good way. So there's that. Right now it's 46% complete. And the other thing I wanted to share with you is that the bus and shuttle schedules for spring 2021 have been announced. They have implemented on-demand busing from campus, including campus apartments, which may be very, very relevant to international students coming in this semester for the first time to our university, where they would have come in September or August of last semester. Because of the travel restrictions, many of them are going to be coming this semester or are already here. So for those of you who are presidents, secretaries, have some kind of leadership capacity, or for your organizations, please make sure that these new students have this information. So the bus and shuttle schedules are here, and I'll share all of these websites in the chat box in a second. They're also on this page. They're very easy to read, and you can see that there's even drop-down boxes with charts and times available. Importantly, let me see. You need to download an app to use the on-demand part of the service, and that's going to be through the Translock app, and it's not Translock Writer. There are two Translock apps. It's the Translock, not Translock Writer. So be sure that they know that too. The times, as you can see, are kind of, they're kind of limited, but since this is new, and their goal with this is to be responsive to the students, they are, according to Laura Hubbard, they are very responsive to student feedback. So if you find issues with this, if you need it to change in a certain direction, please keep in contact with the GSA or with somebody at the FSA. You can email me. I'll put my email in the chat box if you want also. But this is something that should be able to change without much issue, depending on student need. So this will be running from North to South Campus to the grocery stores, Walmart, Target, Tops, Wegmans, stuff like that. And I think that's all I had for my presentation. Thank you.
Thanks, Al. Does anyone have any questions? Feel free to put it in the chat.
I'll put this stuff in the chat box right now.
Yeah, and Elle will be here anyway, so maybe if you have a question, Elle can answer it for you in the chat. Thanks, Elle. All right, so we're gonna move on. I'm not seeing the slides. Oh, thank you, Connor. All right, so Stephanie, are you gonna do these? Is Courtney back?
I don't think she's back in yet, so I'll jump in. We just wanted to announce to everybody that GSA office is going to continue working remotely through the spring semester. Myself and Gina are always available via email or Zoom. Please just reach out to us. We've also made the decision to continue prohibiting in-person events until further notice. There are still legal liability concerns with anything that GSA organizes or sponsors. But we do want clubs to know you're still welcome to provide conference and research support, to make purchases of goods or supplies, as long as they're for the benefit of everybody that's in your club. And because Courtney is still having technical difficulties, I guess I will do her programming stuff too. Discount Hatchet and Hops vouchers are still available, $15 each. We do have more Chipotle gift cards coming for the spring semester. There will be 300 gift cards available each month. As we've mentioned in the past, you can reserve the gift cards online. The Chipotle gift cards are digital, but they won't get sent out until all 300 of each batch have been claimed. The vendor will only let us push them out in large batches. Unfortunately, we can't send them individually every time you request one. So please be patient. We will get it sent out as soon as possible, but they will be available consistently through May. February 8th, we have more Tim Hortons gift cards becoming available, one per ID. The problem with these ones is we were not aware at the time that we purchased them at the beginning of the year that they are physical gift cards. So these ones do have to either be picked up at the UB ticket office, or unfortunately, students who claim the $5 gift card will have to pay a $2 postage fee in order to have them mailed to you if you're not able or comfortable coming to campus. And then on February 10th, we do have the next distinguished speaker coming, Patrice Cullors. There are slots available for the virtual presentation because everything is still being done via Zoom. We will send out more information about that as soon as it's provided to us by the Office of Special Events. So thank you.
Okay, so we have Jen here to talk about MDRF.
Hey, I'm always here, but today particularly I will talk about MDRF. I just wanted to say a couple of quick things. One, that the spring application is due next Friday, February 12th by 3 p.m. It is fully electronic this cycle, just like the last two because of COVID. And then signatures are due the following Monday, February 15th. So if you have people in your department who are interested in applying, please let them know those are due next Friday. This is for research to be conducted between April 1st, 2021 and March 31st, 2022. The second thing is that following the deadline, so I've gotten a lot of emails about this, but following the deadline, we do send out a call for reviewers. We first ask the most recent grant recipients, and then we send out a general call to the student body. So if you are interested in serving on the review council, or if you know people in your department are interested in serving on the review council, that email typically goes out about the end of February, and it'll go through our standard listservs. The third thing is we are still funding research, but we do have a sort of halt on whether or not on being able to travel, being able to fund travel grants. This comes from the graduate school and the university overall. So you are welcome, you are able to apply for a grant and be awarded a grant for travel. We just currently can't actually pay for travel until the university has allowed us to do that. But it's the university right now that is not allowing us to pay for travel. So if anyone has any questions about research funding for travel, please reach out to me. I will put the email address in the chat.
Thank you, Jen. All right, so it's my turn. So the first thing I want to talk about is that Tom from the Office of Student Engagement reached out to us to see if we would be interested in being involved in an involvement fair, a GSA virtual like club involvement fair. This has been happening. This was happening before we went away because of COVID and stuff like that. It used to be in person. I think it used to be in the union, but now it's virtual. And I think that, so for this, if you like have a club, I think that this might be interesting to like the special interest club or like the international clubs who maybe want to get the word out about their clubs and maybe get the opportunity to kind of share more about their clubs and have other people learn more about them. You might want to take advantage of this. Obviously, it's not required, but we did want to bring it to the board to see if anybody would be interested in doing it for their club. So if you are, please send me an email. I'll throw my email in the chat after I'm done talking. And if enough people are interested in doing it, then GSA will host a virtual club involvement fair. Someone said, okay, so yeah, so someone's talking about like how they used to host it in the chat. The second thing is that GSA has partnered with GSEU to petition for staff parking passes for TAs and GAs. I am actually working on a proposal right now with Lawrence that you all saw earlier to give to parking and transportation and also upper administration. I know that if you've been here for a while, we've been trying to get TAs and TAs and GAs, people represented by GSEU, to be able to park in the faculty parking forever. Like this literally has been a thing forever. But GSA and GSEU, from my understanding, have never like combined forces to try to make it happen. So we're hoping that us partnering together will be helpful in trying to make it actually happen. I'm not really sure, Lawrence, I'm not sure if you're comfortable with me saying the other things we're asking. So let me know if you are, But one of the big thing is that we would like to be able to park in staff parking, because if you've ever been on North Campus, the faculty parking is empty and then you're driving around for hours trying to get parking. Okay, Lauren said it's okay. We're also asking that the university, so if you're a TA or a GA, you know that we're charged the $9.95 for the parking pass. We're asking that we not be charged that, to waive it, because they're basically essentially making people who work for the university pay to park, which especially students is not cool. The last thing we're asking, but I'm sure Lawrence and I would be open to hearing more from other people, is that people who receive, like, so we talked about earlier how if you get fees or whatever and you don't pay them, you have a hold on your account. We're also asking that they don't put holds on our accounts. So yeah, Lawrence, feel free to jump in if you have more to say about it. It seems like the chat is blowing up. So let me
Yeah.
go. Yeah, sorry.
I see the RAs. So RAs aren't represented by GSEU. So at the moment, there's not a whole lot GSEU can do. RAs are represented by a different, slightly adjacent union that we actually don't have here at Buffalo, which if you are interested in an RA union, send me an email. So at the moment, RAs would probably not be included in this, unfortunately. But yeah, so we're hoping that that hold that you get by not paying your parking tickets, we're just arguing that, you know, one, I think fundamentally we shouldn't be getting parking tickets at all, but that hold that gets placed on your account, that also should not be, because that then where you park now then could prohibit you from getting a transcript or accessing other resources, and that just doesn't make sense to us. SUNY RF. I believe RF employees are RAs. Am I correct in that association?
No, the Research Foundation.
Oh,
So I work for the SUNY Research Foundation, and I park on North Campus, and every so often I do get ticketed. So I'm just curious.
are you a GA?
No, I work for the Archaeological Survey at UB.
Okay.
I'm not a GA or a TA.
So my guess would be, unfortunately, no, this would not cover you. But feel free to send me an email and I can double check and see if you're considered part of our unit.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Thanks, Lawrence. So yeah, like Lauren said, and everyone's been talking about in the chat, this is a big issue. I know for myself, like back when we used to be on campus, like coming in to teach a 12:30 class and being unable to find parking. So then parking in faculty parking and then getting ticketed for it. Nobody should be getting ticketed when they're going to work. And also, honestly, I don't think we should be having to pay for parking and transportation anyways, but that's a whole nother story. So yeah, Lawrence and I are working on that. If anyone's interested or like maybe what has any other insights or maybe some things that they think would be good to also put in the proposal, feel free to email me or email Lawrence, and we're working on this together. And we're hoping also to have a meeting with the director of parking and transportation, Chris Austin, pretty soon. So that's all I have to say.
Connor, we can just submit those directly to you, correct?
Hi,
Sounds great. Thank
I'm gonna
you.
Double check. These submissions are due and they're considered a draft until they're approved. Great, thanks for clarifying.
Good evening, everybody. It's Josh, your GSA treasurer. So let's go over our report. Let's see, our GSA budgetary guidelines are going to be updated to indicate that clubs can no longer fundraise for other organizations. That means as part of our federal nonprofit application, we stated that we would only fundraise for our own organization. Next bullet, any departmental clubs that are thinking of using their budgets to purchase capital equipment, $500 or more per purchase, should remember that those purchases require prior approval from the GSA Finance Committee. So if you're not sure, just reach out to me or Stephanie. Final Finance Committee meeting for this year will be held on March 31st, which is the week before the final Board of Directors meeting in April. Requests will need to be received by Friday, March 26th. So just mark that date if you're thinking about making any capital equipment purchases that are going to be kind of expensive. So just make sure you get that in to me by that date. Or if you have any questions, at least arrange to ask those questions. That way you can have arrangements before that date is come and gone. All right, funding account balances. Nobody's applied for anything because we really can't get together. So all the money's still just being saved in the balance for right now. And go to the next slide. Okay. Conference funding. 3 people were applied in February and 3 people were approved. If I keep recommending to people, if you can use the conference funding that we have available for a virtual conference or anything like that at all, please do so. I mean, we have the money available to do it. And if, attending or presenting virtually at a conference, benefits you and adds value to what you're doing, then, please reach out and do so. Okay, you can go to the next one. Right, that's it for me for now. Thank you.
Thanks, Josh. Okay, so old business. Okay, we don't have any old business. So new business is a funding request and the election committee update. There's no funding request. So do we have someone from the election committee to give an update, or am I doing this?
Hi, Jay. Yeah, I'll take it over. So
Hi.
hi, everyone. My name is Daniel. Some of you may have emailed me already. I think the email for the call for candidates went out on January 25th. So just sort of look in your inbox and you'll find the details on basically emailing me if you're interested in running for any one of the board positions. That would be president, treasurer, vice president. The deadline for submission is February 26th. So email me and start collecting your signatures as soon as possible to meet that deadline. You must have attended at least one board meeting in the past 12 months and must attend the February and March meetings. If you're not sure regarding your attendance in the past year at any one of these board meetings, you can email me and we can check the attendance record. So that's not an issue. And if you have any general questions, more information on, sort of responsibilities of each position and the petition process, you can reach out to me. Also, when you do email me with interest in a position, just make sure you specify which one, because it kind of just changes subtly what forms I give you as far as your petition packet is concerned. And as it says here in the last bullet point, you must be present and available to serve a full year term from June 1st to May 31st. So anyone have any questions, feel free to either speak up now or shoot me an email.
Thanks, Daniel. If anyone has any questions for Daniel, you can throw it in the chat or you can send him an email. So I was just gonna say there's a question in the chat, but I think Stephanie is actually answering it. So someone asked what would constitute as a capital equipment purchase. Stephanie said capital equipment purchases are purchases of anything costing more than $500. And that's what it is right now, right, Stephanie? But we were just talking earlier about how that's gonna change. Or was that just for GSA?
Yes, that may be changing moving forward. The auditors and the accountants seem to think that maybe that threshold needs to increase, but we've already had other groups who've made purchases this year and everything was tracked at that $500 threshold. So as you mentioned previously, any changes to that threshold won't happen until the new fiscal year. To answer the question that Seth just asked, yes, that's for a single item, but in certain circumstances, multiple items totaling more than $500 might be considered as well. We do have a minor equipment policy. Those do still require prior approval, but not necessarily from the finance committee. The GSA e-board usually reviews submissions of like quotations and proposals for what the plan is for those items. But any items $500 and more do need the finance committee's approval. So.
Thanks, Stephanie. Okay, so moving on. So don't leave just yet. We need a motion to vote to adjourn the meeting and a second.
Hi, I have one question before we all go. So going back to that, sorry, is that okay?
No,
Sorry,
that's fine. Go ahead.
We mentioned that GSA was not going to be having events, or at least in-person events. And out of curiosity, with Thomas Vane sending out the email last week saying that in-person events were permitted, I was wondering how that worked for clubs within GSA.
Do you want me to take that one, Jay?
Yeah, please do, Steph.
The university is technically allowing groups to hold events, but in consultation with our lawyer and in discussions that the e-board has had, we feel that it is best for our protection and liability concerns to continue to ask clubs to hold all of their events remotely. Again, as the situation progresses, we are constantly reevaluating that. But for right now, to protect ourselves a little bit from any liability concerns, we're asking groups to stay remote with their events.
Great, thanks for elaborating. I was really surprised when I got that email from Thomas. So.
Thanks for asking that. I also saw that email and I was like, wait, huh? So, all right. So people seconded, vote. Okay, great. I think we reached quorum in ending the meeting. All right, thank you all for showing up. We will see you next meeting.
Hi, I just have some informal questions. So do we have time to ask those?
Yeah, I'm still here, so yeah, feel free. Yeah, you can go ahead and ask. Yeah,
Hello?
so if you have questions, you could throw them